What is up, awesome people of the internet? I got a question for you. Who is the #1 scorer in women's college basketball? Now, some of y'all may say Flau'jae Johnson, of course. And to that, I say no. Some of y'all may be like, oh, wow, Hannah Hidalgo. Yes, she's been phenomenal. Yes, she has to be the #1 scorer in the country. The answer to that is no. Or you may be like, JuJu Watkins. She is the #1 scorer because of all the stuff that she has done at USC. It's her. Yes, it is JuJu Watkins. And to that, I say no. Those are 3 bona fide fantastic scorers, but 3 strikes and you are out. No. The main people that everybody knows about when it comes to women's college basketball, none of them are the #1 scorer. The #1 scorer is a shooting guard who literally no one talks about because of the school that she goes to. And I am talking about Ta'Niya Latson. She is a 5'8" junior guard who was ranked as the top shooting guard in the 2022 freshman class. As a senior in high school, she was dropping 27.2 points, 7 assists, 8 rebounds, 5.3 steals, and 2 blocks a game. Again, as a senior in high school. Like crazy numbers. And even though she was recruited by some well-known basketball schools like Baylor, Kentucky, NC State, Texas, Virginia Tech, Ta'Niya chose to stay close to home. She's from Miami, decided to attend Florida State instead of going out of state. And since stepping foot on campus for the Seminoles, Ta'Niya has been lights out, guys. As a freshman, she set the ACC single-season freshman scoring record, scoring a total of 659 points as a freshman, y'all. She had 7 of the ACC's 14 30-point games in that season as well. She also set a Florida State single-season record with 7 30-point games. Yeah, again, as a freshman, guys. She averaged that season, she averaged 21.3 points a game, which led the entire nation in scoring in terms of freshmen. She was in double figures for 29 of 31 games. She led the ACC with 18 20-point games. She had a 14-game streak of scoring at least 20 points a game, which is the second longest streak in NCAA history, men or women for freshmen, since Trae Young did it a long time ago. She was the first ACC freshman ever to lead the ACC in scoring. Yeah, again, as a freshman. And because of her efforts, she got some honors, right? She was named to the WBCA honorable mention All-American team. She was the WBCA National Freshman of the Year. She was also the winner of the Tamika Catchings Award. She was a Associated Press honorable mention All-American player. She also was the Athletics National Freshman of the Year and was on the Wooden Award National ballot as well. She did a little bit of everything, of course, dominating in the ACC, but also in women's basketball in general. So yeah, if you've heard some of that stuff and you're like, wow, how in the world was she that accomplished and I never heard of her? Like what happened that made me not pay attention to her when she was a freshman? Well, let me just keep going. All right, as a sophomore, Ta'Niya averaged 21.1 points a game, 4.2 rebounds a game, 4.2 assists a game, 1.5 steals a game, and she had a really good assist to turnover ratio with it being 1.4. Now, in that, she absolutely did her thing, okay? For Florida State. She had some big games against some big teams last year. She ended up helping to to just dominate, guys. She was top 10 in ACC play in terms of scoring. Her field goal percentage was pretty high as well. Her assists were 5th in the ACC. She was the second Seminole player ever to have multiple scoring seasons of 20 plus points a game. She was the second Seminole to finish with 700 plus points for a season. She ended up having 705 in that season, though she didn't miss the first game. So maybe if she played the first game of the season, she probably would have had way more than 705. She was one of 4 players nationally to rank in the top 11 in terms of points scored. She had 3 consecutive 30-point games, which was a fun stretch, including one of those games being against NC State. She had 6 30-point games ultimately in conference play last season. And she was the fastest player in Florida State University history to hit 1,000 points. And again, she got a lot of honors as well. She was a WBCA honorable mention All-American. She was a WBCA region finalist. She was the Associated Press honorable mention All-American. She was on the ACC All-Tournament second team. She was also on the regular ACC first team. This was the second time she won the she was an Ann Myers Drysdale Award finalist, and on and on and on and on. And that leads us to this season, where Ta'Niya Latson is averaging 28.6 points a game on 48% shooting. She is averaging 5.2 rebounds a game, 3.8 assists per game. She recorded her first career triple-double recently with a performance of 24 points, 10 assists, and 10 rebounds. And so that was kind of cool. It was the 4th triple-double in program history. And Ta'Niya didn't stop there. She also set a scoring career high with 38 points that she dropped against Tennessee. All right. And in that game, she shot 60% from the field, 50% from the 3. I mean, I'm just crazy numbers. Okay. Crazy numbers. She also, right after that, dropped 39 points against SMU. So, basically, Ta'Niya Latson is a walking bucket. That is 21.3 points a game, 21.4 points a game, and now 28.6 points a game in her, so far, 3 seasons in women's college basketball. And if you pair that up with the way that Ta'Niya is shooting and the way that she gets to the basket, she's shooting 45% from the field. And you have, a lot of people who consider themselves women's college basketball fans, and some of them have never even heard of the name Ta'Niya Latson. And if they did, they heard it in passing, and they didn't really see anything about Ta'Niya. And I sum a huge portion of that up because of the school that she goes to. Guys, she goes to Florida State, and while Florida State is in the ACC, and while they have been competitive over the last couple of years in the ACC, they have been largely ignored by the national media. Largely ignored. Which has led to their best player not getting her just due. And that's because when Ta'Niya Latson is usually scoring those 30 points a game, she's doing it on a network that no one's really watching, right? She's doing it on the ACC network. She's doing it on ACC Extra, right? And it's great numbers. It's fantastic numbers, but at the same time, it's not in front of the masses. And that's a huge thing, right? You wonder why. If I say the name Silas Orts to, a good amount of women's basketball fans who have been loosely paying attention this year. I say the name Silas Orts, a good amount of people probably know who I'm talking about, right? The Michigan freshman who played really, really well against South Carolina. The reason why they know Silas Swords, and in some cases they don't know Ta'Niya Latson, is because Silas Swords, when she had that fantastic game against South Carolina, it was on TNT. It was on TNT for the season opener. I mean, it's clear as day. The reason why Ta'Niya Latson is not getting the attention she deserves is not because she's not talented. No, that girl can get to the rim whenever she wants. She has a really nice 3-point shot as well. She can kind of do a little bit of everything. She will hit her free throws. She will get to the line. She will make tough baskets. And this is one of those things where it's not her play. It's not even her team's play. It's the fact that this team cannot get on national TV consistently. Yes, they did have a couple of games on ESPN last year, but this year, crickets, right? Again, largely ACC network and ACC for the Seminoles. And if you don't get on the big time channels, if you don't schedule the big time games at moments where you can possibly be seen by a lot more people, it hurts your ability to win stuff at the end of the season, right? Hannah Hidalgo, fantastic at Notre Dame. JuJu, fantastic, right? Flau'jae, fantastic. Sarah Strong, fantastic, right? These are some of the big time college basketball players this season, and Ta'Niya Latson exceeds them all in terms of scoring, and she does it efficiently. But yet no one knows her because of where she plays, because of the fact that she does not have games on TNT, on ESPN this year. Like it's just not the case. Because of that, she's being largely ignored by the media. And to be honest with you, I call myself out. Yeah, I call myself out as well on that. Yes, I have been watching Ta'Niya play for years. I've been watching Florida State play because I think Florida State is a really good squad. But this is the first video I've made about Ta'Niya Latson. That's a problem, right? The reason why, in large cases, is because, because even though I watch her games, because the games on national TV, a lot of times I feel like are way more accessible to people, and like I feel like more people would know what I'm talking about, right? So I do have a bias, really, on games that are on the bigger stations. And that's something that I realized in myself. And I'm like, actually, nah, you can't be doing that. Because Ta'Niya Latson's been balling, and I have barely talked about her. And this is something that, I rarely see articles about Ta'Niya Latson. I rarely see people talking about, like, truly, truly how spectacular of a player she is. And it's not just against, weak opponents. She's also putting up good numbers against really good ACC teams. I want to see us as women's basketball fans really pay attention to women's basketball as a whole, not just the top programs, not just the programs that are always on the big time networks, but everybody who is balling, and everybody who is really killing the game. It's not like, oh, you just gotta talk about her just to talk about her. No, talk about her because she actually is really doing her thing, right? And so yeah, I just want to talk about Ta'Niya Latson. I want to give her her flowers because she truly is spectacular. And I've been interspersing clips of her play so you can kind of really see it for yourself. She can just get to the hole. She can get to the bucket constantly. She's really doing her thing. So shout out to you, Ta'Niya Latson. I'm gonna be really focused on really covering the people that most people don't cover, that people ignore. They probably won't get that many views at all. But really, when we talk about women's basketball, we don't just talk about the top players. We don't just talk about the players that everybody knows. We don't just talk about the players where you can put their headshot in a thumbnail and all of a sudden everybody watches, right? Women's basketball has a boatload of talent. It's just that the talent is, in a lot of ways, they're shining, they're doing their thing, but in a lot of ways, the coverage just isn't there on a pretty balanced level, right? And so I want to highlight that it's not just right. It's not just what Latson is doing. It's not just that. It's the fact that it's the fact that you also have a player like a Harmony Turner who's been lighting it up at Harvard and barely talks about it, right? So I'm gonna be doing my best to really not just talk about the players who are big time, but also the players who are also big time but does not get big time recognition. So yeah, that's my goal here. My hope is that y'all are along for the ride. If you're not, well, I'm gonna make it anyway, even if they get 1,000 views or whatever. But my hope is that we all evolve and we all don't just go for the biggest names that everybody knows, right? That we really pay attention to what's happening in the space of women's basketball and who's moving the needle, not just in terms of popularity, but also in terms of play on the court and what people are doing. Ta'Niya Latson's awesome. Is she National Player of the Year? No, I don't think so. The reason why is because I while they play in the ACC, Florida State I don't think has the non-conference resume to really hold up her being National Player of the Year. Even though she's putting up great numbers, even though she's going to do great in SEC play and all that stuff, I don't see her being a National Player of the Year. So that's not, just because someone averages the most points in a season does not mean they're National Player of the Year. I don't think she's right now in the running for that, mainly because of the non-conference schedule for Florida State. But who knows what Florida State will be able to do in the NCAA tournament. I think that'll be really fun to see her ball out, because that's going to be our chance to see her play against a little bit more competition, not just the ACC. Because if she would have had a chance to play a UConn this season, playing a USC this season, a South Carolina this season, I think it would be a different story. But because of the non-conference schedule, I don't have her as a. She's for sure a name talked about, but she's not a top 2 National Player of the Year, I would say, as of right now. But yeah, those are my thoughts there. Unless she absolutely dominates against Notre Dame, I think if she destroys Notre Dame and has 40 points or something like that, maybe. But yeah, it's a uphill battle for her on that front. But she's absolutely doing her thing and does deserve a whole lot more recognition. So that's my story about Ta'Niya Latson. More on her to come, as well as other players who are absolutely balling as well. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.